Hi guys. I just wanted to put a quick thing here at the beginning of the video. My husband, I think most of you know, is not American. He is German, native speaking German. And so I asked him to please watch the documentary about Harry and Meghan. Remember, it was supposed to be about Meghan before she met Harry. And then all of a sudden in July, they put the pause on it and we knew something was going on. And I told you I thought it was going to be a big nothing burger. I found several things that they put in there very interesting, and they actually put in a lot of misinformation. I was shocked. So my husband went through it with me, gave me the highlights, and that's what we're going to do here. So let's jump in and get started, shall we? Let's go. FYI, also, just so you know, translation from German to English, when you look at it in English, it loses a lot of the, I don't know the word I'm trying to think of, but you lose a lot in the translation. So I was very happy, and a big thank you to my hubby for taking one for the team. All right, let's go. I have to start with this, and you'll see why. It goes into what we're talking about in the documentary. This was the big buffet, lunch, get-together, dinner, whatever you want to call it, that they had in Colombia, where Harry was not even put, Harry the royal wasn't even seated next to the head people. It was Meghan, and Harry was just kind of stuck to the side as an afterthought, just sitting over there in the corner, minding his business while Meghan was schmoozing. And so you have to wonder if he was longing for this, because remember, these are the kind of state dinners that he remembers. These are the kind of things where he feels that he should be, but without the royal family, if that makes sense. This is what he misses the most, absolutely. Remember, he said that life there was like being in the Truman Show, and he hated Windsor and he wanted out. Be careful what you wish for. All right, let's start. The video starts with them showing and saying how Harry has this great life in the United States. It shows him surfing and playing polo, and how he just loves luxury, even if he has to trash his family to get the luxury. They're saying that Harry has more sympathy in the United States about the royal family, but they also bring up the question, what happens in 5 years if they don't have money because their deals are drying up? And could they have achieved more in the royal family? Harry says he's not going to write another book, but you never know. When the money runs out, he's capable of doing anything. The documentary goes on to say that when they left, people in the age group of 22 to 24 loved it and were really behind them. But since he's trashed his family, his popularity in that age group has absolutely tanked. They go on to talk about Netflix, the documentary showed the details from his side, how he was always compared to the other royals. Now, Jack Royston, sugar number 2 behind Omid Scobie, suddenly pops up and says that the Netflix show was a great success and it got them a lot of views. But the problem in the end was that their expectations were too high. The documentary then goes on to talk about Spotify, how they were called grifters, and how basically Hollywood is driven by money. And the only way that Harry and Meghan are going to succeed in Hollywood is if they decide to give up more secrets from the royal family, which this is why, I'm just interjecting here, this is why the royal family has cut them off, because the royal family realizes that they need to dish dirt, and they have no problem dishing dirt. The documentary continues with Jack Royston saying, listen, they're in the elite, and they're working to create change with the poor. And Hollywood has a special glamorous pair, and America looks up to the royal family as grand. And so now they have their own royals living in Montecito. And at the beginning, it was great. It was really good. They were making money without having any experience. He had to start over, Harry did. No friends, no jobs. He completely lost his identity. The documentary went on to say that Harry is just a service provider and he has to continue to come up with ideas in order to make money. They also pointed out that Netflix is extremely unhappy with the deal they made. The documentary goes on to say that Meghan was an actress and she should know how this works. She's familiar with Hollywood. And Harry leans on her. The problem is the documentary leaves out the fact that Meghan was never a big player in Hollywood. She's a D-list cable actress. They're saying that wealth, glamour, love, and betrayal are what drives Hollywood. And that's why you see all of that in Los Angeles. And they're asking, do Harry and Meghan even have a chance there unless they release more secrets from the royal family? They wanted to play by the rules of Hollywood, but Hollywood is a cutthroat industry. Now, this is where it's pointed out that they are part of the elite and they keep wanting to reach out and do good. But yet, there are so many social problems and people around them, like just a few miles away, who really need help. And there's so much injustice and there's a lot of pressure on politics. We know how they dabble. People want solutions from the government. And there's here comes Harry and Meghan who try to want to help, but, they keep talking about doing good and bringing about change, but it never happens. I have to tell you, I had no idea that this Katie Nichols woman was so pro Harry Meghan. It was almost sickening. And anyway, they go on to say that Harry and Meghan made a lot of money in the beginning when they first got there, even though they have absolutely no business experience of any kind. What the documentary doesn't tell you is that Harry was getting Homeland Security protection when he went to New York that time, that they're sucking off the taxpayers without actually doing anything, if that makes any sense. And of course, hypocrite Harry flying around on private jets. Then they spoke to one of the neighbors who said they never see them. Harry and Meghan never accept any invites when they're given. That the neighbors see Harry as an asset, but not Meghan. And that Harry used to communicate with the neighbors, but doesn't anymore. And they only see Meghan when she's out walking the dogs and she's with her bodyguards. That she doesn't seem to have any friends and that they don't communicate with anybody where they used to. Very odd behavior, he said. They're definitely not talking to the neighbors. This is in contrast to what Harry said about how their neighborhood had accepted them with open arms. The neighbor then went on to say that Harry's dogs and his bodyguards are his only friends because you never see him with anybody. Anyway, they said Montecito is really a great place to live. You never see Paps there. In this area, he can afford his lifestyle for just a little while because the houses are $8 to $9 million. Now, this is where they gave out information that was wrong. They said he got $20 million for his book. He did. He got $20 million from Spotify. He did not. He got $1 million from Spotify. It took them 3 years, 13 producers, and they didn't really produce anything. She put out Archetypes, which then was cut. And then they have the Netflix deal, which was potential $80 million, but I guarantee you they have not received $80 million. So they start talking about how Harry and Meghan are going to need a new moneymaker, and they bring up ARO and the fact that Meghan was going to sell jam and dog biscuits. And they start talking about that ridiculous commercial that Meghan did the advertising for it on the internet with the home video. And they talk about this black dress that she's wearing and how it didn't really fit her. And also that her logo had a crown on the top because she's trying to make money off of the royal connection. They then bring up the Grenfell cookbook from 2018. Remember the one that was commissioned by the Royal Foundation? And all Meghan did was write the foreword in the book, but they're giving her full credit for the book, like the recipes in there are hers, which they're not. So again, the documentary is incorrect. The documentary goes on to say that Meghan works with things that she's interested in, and she's going to be successful even if she's portrayed in the UK otherwise, that she's connecting with her old acting roots. And they're saying that she is now on the red carpet with Hollywood stars instead of Harry. They then went on to talk about the ARO trademark problems. The problems they're saying are not her fault. It's the people who work with her. And the whole thing and the fact that it's going down is because Harry put too much weight behind Meghan's image. They say that Harry's wish for independence is greater than his ambitions, that's what's happening, that Meghan was the one, that he fought for her, that he was worried that she would leave. And then they start talking about the half in, half out life that they decided they wanted. Now, they rewrote history in this documentary. We know that they sprung it on the royal family with the Instagram post, but according to this documentary, they had months and months of negotiation about how they wanted to handle things, because Harry was constrained, and he wanted the chance to leave with Meghan, but the royal family was against him. The process was against him. And the royal family, Harry had no respect due to the hierarchy, and so the Queen said no to the half and half out, and away they went. So the docuseries goes on to say that Harry and Meghan absolutely planned to use their titles to make money, but they should not use the monarchy as a platform. And now, instead of being the spare to William, he's an extra next to Meghan. Yes, that's what the documentary said. So in the meantime, Archwell, they're saying, it's fighting in contrast to the royal family. They only work an hour a week. They're a lot of money. Harry now is trying to repair his image. He's trying. Now, I have to tell you, if you watch the documentary, which I don't recommend, it's ridiculous. When this was going on, what you're seeing above at One Young World, where she mentioned herself 55 times in 7 minutes, they added, woo, 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 clapping to the Invictus games. I've seen those videos. You guys have seen those videos. They don't have that kind of reception in the background. That was added afterwards for effect. They then go into the financials of Archwell and the problems that they have with Archwell. All right. Now, moving on, they're saying that after the attacks on the royal family, people no longer trust Harry and Meghan, and that they can't better the world. They keep doing this thing about show up and do good, but they can't better the world because nobody trusts them. And now people are asking of the royal family if the racist comments are true. Now, people have come out in this documentary and said, Harry never said the word racism. Harry could have come out and changed the narrative, but he didn't. But he tried to change it later, and that didn't work. And that put a cloud over the royal family. They then go on to talk about the downgrade of the relationship between Harry and William, which happened because they were naming Meghan the Duchess Difficult, and Harry blamed William for everything that was going wrong with Meghan and her mistreatment of the staff. So now Harry is outside of the royal, family at events. The family won't talk to him because people can't forget the fact that he really hurt the Queen. But he wants the prestige that the royal family has, but doesn't want to put the work in. That's really what it comes down to. They talked about his military. They talked about he shouldn't have been in the military. He really wasn't that great. He wasn't a pilot, and he put the other soldiers in danger. They went on to say now that William gets all the praise from his father, but would that not be because Harry left? William's not talking to Harry at all. Now, they do say that Harry is popular in other countries like Colombia, when he went to Colombia with Meghan, because he's treated like he's still in the royal family. But they also brought up the fact that Harry and Meghan only mix with the upper class and the elite while on tour. They never hang out with the poor. The visits are very orchestrated. They're only really for publicity for Harry and Meghan, not for, the needy people. They brought up the fact that it's hard to mesh with the poor when you're wearing designer clothing and hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry. And the docuseries goes on to say that Harry and Meghan should stop making money from the royal label. Now, they go on to talk about the 2022 Invictus Games in Germany. They pointed out that for that one day in Germany cost the German taxpayer $298,541, and it cost the German taxpayer $42 million to support Invictus. So what the documentary points out is he doesn't have to give any interviews. He's acting like he's a member of the royal family. He's making some money, and he has no real talent, and that People are paying him to do this even after he's no longer a member of the royal family. They also forget to mention in the documentary that Invictus Games was not Harry's. Invictus Games, as we know, was Harry's, William's, Charles, and the Royal Foundation. They then go on to talk how when Harry is not with Meghan, he's his old self. He's fabulous with children, very paternal, and people like to see him doing this kind of work like he did when he was with the royal family, but without Meghan. All right, the next thing they bring up is Catherine's cancer. They talk about her chemo and how the royal family basically had to suffer and be a little shorthanded, it's what's inferred, while Catherine was getting over her cancer. They talked then about how the rest of the family had to step up to help during the cancer diagnosis when Charles and Catherine were out, and they're saying that Harry tried to destroy them from a distance, which I completely agree with. William decided to do his duty instead of dealing with Harry. And in the meantime, they said that Harry's star could very quickly fade if he's not careful. And then they go, do you think that, Harry will ever be able to go home? They said, what, Charles? Maybe. William? No way. He'll never allow it. Now, I also noticed in this documentary, they didn't talk about Harry's drug abuse. They didn't talk about the marital problems of Harry and Meghan, but I did find it interesting that they basically said that without Meghan around, Harry is his own self. And I find that to be true. I find that when Harry is not around Meghan, it's like he's out from under her spell. All right, I really want your comments on this one, so leave them. I personally think that Meghan's attorneys scared the filmmaker into changing this. So leave your comments and then go down into the description box and you'll find the link to video number 2. Follow me over. Let's go.